What's up guys, Agent here again with another PTS video. Today we're going to be taking a look at Spell Strategist. So yes, finally got enough time off from schoolwork and research in order to finally kind of go into the PTS and kind of dig into kind of the specifics behind the sets that are probably going to end up being the meta or become close to the meta or potential replacements for certain sets in the meta. Again, this is looking mostly at a PvE standpoint, in fact, strictly PvE standpoint right now. So let's go ahead and get started here. So this is the first time I'm actually testing this out, so you'll be able to walk through and see kind of my methodology and kind of my thinking when it comes to testing this kind of stuff out. So the first thing that we're going to want to do here is what exactly is Spell Strategist. So Spell Strategist is a new set that comes from rewards of the worthy, so you will need to PvP in order to get it, but because it is rewards of the worthy, you can actually purchase it off of guild traders and sell it and buy it off guild traders. So depending on how well this performs, we'll see whether it ends up being expensive or not. Now Spell Strategist is pretty much all spell damage. So you have a max Magicka as a 2-piece, 2 spell damage as 3 and 4 respectively. And then for the 5-piece, when you deal damage with a light attack, you place a mark over your target for 5 seconds, granting you 500 spell damage against your marked target. This effect can occur every 4 seconds. Now you will notice that you have to deal damage with the light attack and it's over a target for 5 seconds with a 4-second cooldown. So theoretically, you could have a 100% uptime on Spell Strategist if you have it on your body. Now, what a lot of people are thinking is actually running this on your front bar instead and keeping Siroria as your body. That way you're basically stacking a crap ton of spell damage on top of each other. So you have the 600 from Siroria, the 500 from Spell Strategist. So you basically have 1100 additional spell damage there if you're able to sustain those Siroria stacks. So really high spell damage. That being said though, this does have a few drawbacks. So the first one is the fact that it is only single target. So let's say you have a bunch of ads, kind of all grouped together. Spell Strategist, you'd have to light attack each one of those ads in order to gain the additional spell damage boost. Realistically, that's not really going to be something you're going to want to do because each one only lasts for 5 seconds. So in terms of AoE potential, this isn't going to be quite as strong. Now, a counter argument for this is that cleave damage is so high right now, especially with stamina DPS, that you won't need to worry about this loss in AoE damage compared to the increase in single target damage. The other thing, which is what we're going to test today, is what if Spell Strategist acts a lot like Siroria does when you have it on the front bar. That is, even though it is considered active when you swap to your back bar, you don't actually get the buff at all. So that's what we're going to be testing today, just to kind of see whether or not the debuff actually does carry over to our back bar, or if it's a lot like Siroria, where it won't carry over at all. So those are kind of the two main things that people kind of have pointed out with Spell Strategist there. Alright, so what we're going to be doing today is basically we're going to be taking a look at Spell Strategist and whether or not the 5-piece remains on your back bar after we activate it on our front bar. Now this is going to be a little bit tricky because by definition, we're going to have higher spell damage on our front bar compared to our back bar here, because when we swap to a back bar, we lose the 4-piece as well as the 5-piece. So here's what we're going to be doing here. So we're going to be taking a look strictly at our back bar light attack damage. I will actually have to change that enchant out because the weapon damage enchant might actually end up skewing things a little bit here. So we'll just put the Glyph of Flame on there. So what we're going to be doing, like I said, is we're going to be looking at back bar damage. So the two things of damage that I'm going to be looking at are going to be block 8, and then also going to be looking at light attacks as well. So what we're going to be doing is basically see what we're able to hit without Spell Strategist on our back bar right now. Then we're going to finish that parse, basically let the dummy reset, and then we're going to go to our front bar, activate Spell Strategist, swap to our back bar, and then see what block 8 and light attacks are able to hit. We will have to do that several times because it only lasts for 5 seconds, and I'm not sure how many light attacks I can fit in there. It should only be 3, so I do want to do this several times. We'll also throw in shards in there as well, why not? Right? So again, this is just without Spell Strategist, so this is kind of our baseline. This is kind of what we're going to be seeing here. Actually, we should probably do it all at once, or not all at once, because we're getting a lot of different numbers up on there. So the first one's going to be blockade. So it looks like we're hitting for 1692. And I am actually going to write these down, if I can figure out where to put my pen. Just so that way we have a record of it. So blockade was 1692 was the normal hits there. Let's go ahead and take a look at shards. The shards looks like it is 1324. Is 1324 per tick. Now let's take a look at our light attacks. Light attacks are 2991. So our light attacks are 2991. So that's our baseline now. So we're gonna go on our front bar now and basically proc Spell Strategist. You'll be able to see what it looks like. And then we're going to go to our back bar while Spell Strategist is still active and see whether or not blockade shards and the light attacks still hit for that number. So if they still hit for these numbers, then we know that Spell Strategist doesn't carry over to the back bar. But if we see an increase in these numbers, then we can pretty much associate it strictly with Spell Strategist, because we're not changing anything else. We're just adding in that Spell Strategist from the front bar here. In addition, I am using blockade and shards, so these are dynamically changing dots because they're grounded AoEs, so they will change based on whatever we have on our back bar, but we will still cast them on our back bar after we proc Spell Strategist, just so we're consistent here. So this is what Spell Strategist looks like for those of you guys who haven't been on the PTS. As you can see, you can tell where the mark is. It's basically just a purple bubble, and you have a kind of swirl, purple swirls around your body to know that you have that debuff up. Now you can see here that I did carry over my Srendar settings over from live, so that's why you don't have the debuff up on Srendar. So we're just going to proc Spell Strategist again. So our blockade now is hitting for... Oh, we lost our Spell Strategist, so we have to regain it. It's hitting for 1626, it looks like, or... Yeah, we're still hitting for 1626. So that is actually quite interesting. Oh, you know what it is? It's the burning. The burning might be changing some things. So right now we're burning, and so blockade will do more damage because it's burning. So it's actually 1477 is our actual hit. I forgot about that secondary effect for blockade. So our number is actually 1477. That's what we have to beat. That's weird. There we go. It has to be when the skeleton is not burning. It's actually going to be a little bit tricky. So we might actually... I know how we can fix this. We can just get rid of the flame enchant and just put something like a absorb magic enchant instead. I get out of combat so I can enchant. So that way we won't have to deal with the additional flame damage, because it's probably from the enchant that's all these procs are happening. There we go. Again, 1477. Go ahead and proc Spell Strategist. We have the burning proc on, so we can't use that. $16.26 is what we're hitting. So they did see an increase. So again, without the burning additional damage, we're hitting 1477. Now we're hitting 1626. One thing I did notice too is that the projectile actually has to hit the target while you're on your front bar. So if we bar swap, you'll see that I don't apply the debuff at all. So you actually have to make sure you're on your front bar when the projectile hits, when the fireball hits from your light attack, in order to get that debuff. So now we're going to take a look at shards. We don't have to worry about the additional burning damage with shards. So we want to beat 1324. Oops. There we go. 14. Looks like we had 14, so we just need to do it again. 1457, so it is an increase. So again, our initial one was 1324, so now 1457 instead. So we're still seeing an increase. So it does seem like Spell Strategist does carry over to our back bar. And then we'll do light attacks. So our number to beat is 2991, and it looks like we're hitting. It's hard to tell because of all the enchants that are happening at the same time. 3291 is our light attacks. So it does seem like Spell Strategist does carry over to the back bar. But it seems like we also found out a neat little quirk, which is that the light attack actually has to hit while you're on the front bar compared to on the back bar. So if you bar swap too quickly from your light attack, you actually won't get the debuff at all. So you have to make sure that your projectile hits and then you bar swap. So that's going to be something that you're going to want to take into consideration here. So might be a little bit tricky to get complete uptime on it, just because a lot of people like me, if you're playing at range, you know, you're doing your rotation and you don't wait for the projectile to hit, you just bar swap right away. So that's going to take a little bit of getting used to, but overall it does seem like Spell Strategist does carry over to the back bar if you proc it on the front bar. So it's not like Siroria, so that might mean that Spell Strategist is going to end up being a pretty strong set for you to use. Now you can see here that let's see, it counts right now in combat metrics. It counts as a debuff and a buff. So I'm not 100% sure what's going on here. That's something for somebody else to dig into the API with for it, just to kind of see how Spell Strategist is actually being determined. I'm thinking that it counts as a debuff and a buff. So it puts the debuff on the enemy, and then the buff is the 500 onto you. You will also see here that it doesn't actually it isn't reflected in combat metrics. So 1872, 1941. Our max is still 1941. It actually isn't reflected on combat metrics. So we are getting the Spell Strategist buff, but it's not being reflected on the tooltip itself. So there's something probably behind the scenes that's happening. So it's not being reflected on your character tooltip at all. Alright, so that's pretty much it for this kind of testing video. So now that we know that Spell Strategist definitely carries over to your back bar, now it's time to kind of see how it stacks up to, for example, Mother Sorrow on a Nightblade or on a Templar as a front bar set compared to something like Burning Spellweave. So kind of I'm going to be playing around a little bit now between Burning Spellweave, Mother Sorrow, and Spell Strategist as front bar sets to kind of see where they all kind of fall into place and which one's ultimately going to be the best set for you to run in certain situations. So that's it for this video. Hope you guys found this informative. If you guys have any questions, please feel free to leave them down in the comment section below, and I will see you guys in the next dungeon.